Lights in Lincoln, Nebraska. First time in 53 years, the most famous of fight songs is rolling across Memorial Stadium. Frank Leahy brought the last Notre Dame team to Lincoln in 1948. The Irish were loaded. Frank Trapuka, Emil Sitko, and Leon Hart racked up 621 yards, and Leahy poured it on. A year ago, the rivalry was renewed. It was decided in overtime.
Here is a fake, a keeper by Eric Kraft. He's to the 5, he will score! Nebraska pulls it out!
The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame return to Nebraska. Head coach Bob Davie. In his biggest opening day test ever. It's a sea of red. The Cornhuskers of Nebraska hosting Notre Dame. Good evening and welcome everybody. Along with Gary Danielson, I'm Brent Musburger. Gary, I mentioned Bob Davie. He's unbeaten in his season openers, but folks, he moves way up in class. Nebraska hasn't lost here in 15 straight games, and they've won 51 of their last 52.
Brent, you have a name for these games. What do you call them?
It's a monster.
And the monster of this game is really Nebraska. They're number 4. They're playing at home. They played 2 games, and they got a senior quarterback that is used to these big games. So what is Notre Dame going to try to do? They're going to try to beat Nebraska at their own game. Line of scrimmage, option football, taking it right at them. To win this game, Notre Dame is going to have to get turnovers and make it a physical football game. Notre Dame sees it. Nothing fancy in this one, Brent. They want to take it right at Nebraska.
So Bob Davie trying to win his 5th consecutive season opener. And on the other side, Frank Solich trying to run his record to 3-0. Let's check in first with John Saunders and Terry Bowden. John? And the Cornhuskers pour onto the field. 242 consecutive sellouts here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Tension on both sides, and the kickoff is coming up.
On Jack River, when this rivalry was renewed 1 year ago, a sea of red invaded South Bend for that game. The same cannot be said today for the game in Lincoln, Nebraska. Now, the Lincoln Visitors Authority estimates there are as many as 20,000 Irish faithful in town, and they weren't able to get a ticket. Instead of a sea of green tonight, Brent, there seems to be just a little puddle.
Yeah, you see pockets around. Jack, and I think they made sure that the Irish fans were split far apart here tonight. There's always a couple of green shirts out there, and then you'll see several thousand red T-shirts, jackets, polo shirts. So Notre Dame, winning the toss, has elected to defer. Nick Sept will kick it off, which means that Josh Davis is back deep for Nebraska. And the Cornhuskers will go on the attack. Underway in Lincoln. Davis behind the wall, bounces off it. 20. The 30. Down at the 35-yard line. The senior quarterback from Omaha, Nebraska, Eric Crouch, brings the Cornhuskers out. He's the record-breaking quarterback for the Cornhuskers. Their greatest running quarterback of all time, who has undergone shoulder surgery the last 2 years. But he says he's never felt better throwing the football. It's hard to believe, but this is the fastest quarterback they've ever had under center, and they've had some great ones here at Nebraska. The option look, and number 7 right off the bat is tripped up at the 42-yard line. And we ask Eric about his plans to throw the football more this year.
I think the reason behind that is that my shoulder feels better. We've got some receivers that we are very confident in that go out and make big plays for us. and we know that we need to use that part of the game, and it needs to be a very important tool for us to gain yardage, first down, and to put a lot of points on the board.
Excellent first down run that puts the Huskers in 2nd down and 4. Pound with Diedrich for the first down to Irish territory, just shy of the 45-yard line. Darren Diedrich from Scarborough, Ontario is the I-back. He'll remind you of Amon Green, and it's not just with the number 30. He has the burst. He's also a good receiver. The offensive line is inexperienced. The 3 newcomers, Garrison, Rutherford, and Waldrop on the right side, must hold up tonight against this Notre Dame defensive front.
Both runs went right, though.
They now bring it left. Crouch hit at the 44 by Terrio Harrison, number 51, one of the inside linebackers from Texas. So Grant Irons, who was injured in last year's loss to Nebraska, returns from injury. He'll be a right defensive end. Anthony Weaver is an All-American candidate on the other side. The linebackers, as you've already seen, are going to be busy. Harrison making that last stop. Rocky Boyman double duty. Stop the run, watch the tight end. Shane Walton and Clifford Jefferson go man on man against this option attack. They too need to hold up. On 2nd and 8, Crouch short drop. Incomplete, and the pass was intended for John Gibson, the wingback.
That's one of the strategies that Notre Dame will use against this short passing game. When Nebraska goes in the pocket, they like to throw quick passes, 3-step drops. You have to get your hands up. You're not going to be able to sack Eric Crouch in that situation, so you must make them throw over or around your arms, and it's exactly what happened on that one.
Here's the 3rd down coming up. Jason Beckstrom gives the Irish a nickel look in the defensive backfield. They expect Crouch to go up top on 3rd and 8. And he'll do just that. He has time. Got it. First down at the 30-yard line. And he puts the ball in the hands of Tracy Wistrom from Webb City, Missouri.
They blitzed over the slot right here. This guy comes one-on-one with Tracy Wistrom. Watch this. Picked up cleanly. Thrown right up the middle. Pop right there. Actually, Ronnie Israel slipped on that play. This is a turf, remember, that Notre Dame has never practiced on, and they got rained out last night when they wanted to do their walkthrough.
A 14-yard gain puts the football on the Irish 30-yard line. Here's Diedrich. Big hole left side. Cuts. One man to beat, and he tackled him at the 13. Ronnie Israel, the strong safety from Lawnside, New Jersey, may have saved a touchdown with that stop right there on Diedrich.
Clifford Jefferson again coming from the backside as this breaks backside. Watch another slip to the corner right here on the left side of your screen. That's another one. 2 slips, even though it looks to me like Notre Dame's defensive front 7 is getting blown off the ball early in the first quarter.
Ball is on the 17-yard line. 1st and 10. There's that action. Fullback, Judd Davis, a high school teammate of Eric Crouch's in Omaha. And folks, if the fullback picks up yards like that in this option attack, it's lights out for whoever comes to Lincoln. Once they establish the fullback, everything else works, Gary.
Yes, and only 9 carries in the first 2 games for either fullback for Nebraska. So far, even though Eric Crouch has run the ball once, Nebraska has not run the option yet in this game. It's been all power football.
1st and goal. Flag down. Diedrich down at the 5-yard line, but our first penalty of the game. That's Donald Dykes, the free safety from Hammond, Louisiana, making the tackle. Big Ten referee, and a good one.
Offside on the defense. Remains first down.
First down with the ball spotted just shy of the 3-yard line.
I think you're seeing right now the huge advantage that Nebraska has, having played 2 games already. Talking to Bob Davie and Greg Madison, the coaches over at Notre Dame for their defense, They said that we have not even gone live on a quarterback this year yet in any scrimmage.
Timeout is called by Nebraska. They were a little confused with their personnel package that time. Solich not happy, but they'll take the timeout. They don't want to misfire again. Rocky Boyman on the Notre Dame bench being tended to. Grant Irons has also left the field. First and goal. Diedrich short. Stacked up by the Notre Dame front that time. That was Courtney Watson, the linebacker from Sarasota, Florida.
Well, we called it hand-to-hand combat, line of scrimmage. That is what's going to determine this game. Nothing fancy unless you consider option football, play-action passes, screens. They have it. They just don't feature it like today's modern spread offenses.
Grant Irons returns. Rocky Boyman back in the game on second and goal. An extra blocker for Diedrich, who powers the middle for a touchdown. A penalty flag on the play. Thrown in the back of the end zone.
Both officials in the back. I think too many men, is it? Yeah, too many
12 men on the field.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
There were 12 men. And they still couldn't stop Nebraska from powering into the end zone. That's not a good sign for the Fighting Irish, folks.
Well, when you look at the 12th man of this red crowd here, you understand what you're up against.
And once again, a key play is a pass to Wistrom from Crouch. That third down play, if you go back to it. And the extra point added by Sandro DeAngelis, the freshman kicker from the Buffalo area in upstate New York. Here is Diedrich cutting to daylight earlier in the drive, showing you the nifty move. And from there, it was Diedrich behind the middle of the Cornhuskers' huge offensive line. Timeout. Julius Jones returned to kick off for a touchdown in South Bend last year. The Irish stayed in the game with their special team. It looks like they're going to have to be special again tonight. David Gibbons, number 6, has it from the 6-yard line. And Gibbons is swarmed all over at the 20-yard line. So Nebraska elects to kick away from Julius Jones. And why not? Now coming out is Matt LaVecchio, the quarterback. And we asked him about his mindset for Nebraska.
You know, just keeping an even keel and just staying focused, I think, is one of the most important things. You know, other than that, I think, you know, you just got to be confident in the huddle, and you got to, you know, you got to be all over. You got to know, you know, the game plan inside out.
This is the young man who drove him to the Fiesta Bowl with 7 great games, 11 touchdowns and only 1 interception, and he rushed for 2 more. Matt LaVecchio under center. Terrence Howard draws the start. He's the tailback to the middle. Fumble. Nebraska comes out with it. Jamie Burrow, the middle linebacker who replaced Carlos Polk. Jamie's from Ames, Iowa. He comes up with a fumble as Terrence Howard draws a surprise start and coughs it up.
You talk about an unforced error. This is as simple as you can start a game. Go back, hand the ball after your tailback, and this is totally, actually got his hand right on the ball. I wonder if it was Damone Adams, number 98, that got his hand right on the ball. His left hand right up the middle. Simplest play you can run, and you get a turnover after last year being so great in riding, as you see, 538 rushing attempts with only 4 fumbles.
A critical series for Notre Dame. 1st and 10. Crouch with a great play fake. Touchdown, Nebraska. John Gibson, the wingback. 22 yards. Nebraska strikes after the turnover. Crouch throws his first touchdown pass of the season to John Gibson. And Nebraska opens up a 14-point lead on Notre Dame. The Irish are shell-shocked.
They shell-shocked him with almost a trick play. A brilliant call from Frank Solich, who acts as offensive coordinator. Running from the option, a play-action pass. Gibson comes inside like he's going to block right here and then just angles off down the line of scrimmage, comes back for the touchdown. Watch it unfold. 2 steps, come back. The safety's frozen in tracks right there. No chance for Ronnie Israel to get it, and a perfect throw for 7 points. Comes in, I'm cracking. No, I'm not. Perfect execution. The option play-action pass. Nebraska's been running it for 25 years. Senior quarterback in a big game. He's been through it all.
Sandro DeAngelis, who kicked it beautifully to David Gibbons last night, keeping it out of Julius Jones' hand. He won the kicking competition in practice this week. We were here. A young man who grew up a soccer player. This time they're saying 22, bring it on, and here he comes. 20. To the 26-yard line. So the Irish backs and receiver. And remember, Terrence Howard stepped in. We expected Tony Fisher. Yes, they are 3 deep. Jones is also expected to get some reps back there at tailback. He was their leading rusher. The offensive line, and they've got some good ones in there. Jeff Fain, folks, remember his name. He's the cornerstone with outstanding bookend tackles. But the Nebraska folks told us this week those tackles did not blow us off the line. And so Jeff Fain gets down in the middle, and now Tony Fisher, whom we expected to draw the start, steps in at tailback. He gets the carry, and he is cut down by Mark Fedro, the linebacker from South Dakota. The Nebraska defense must be more aggressive, the coaches told us. You can't be any more aggressive than what we're watching right here. The linebackers, they've got to replace the big fella, and they've already done it. Jamie Burrow coming up with that fumble recovery, and he's performing well under the microscope. They want more turnovers, and they've already got one here.
That's Craig Bohl, defensive coordinator for Nebraska.
Second down and 16. Well short.
No, Matt LaVecchio really misread that play. He had David Gibbons wide open. 6 yards downfield. He thought it was man coverage. It was actually zone coverage, and there was the corner standing right there. Put the helmet right in the back. Keo Craver. 3 plays, 3 disasters so far for Notre Dame's offense.
Third down and 16. The hard way against the Big Red. On the slant, but well short of the first down. Javon Hunter, the receiver that time, and Notre Dame is forced to punt after the tackle by DeJuan Gross.
It's pretty bad when you're happy about a 3 and out. The first time it was a 1 and out. I looked out there, Brent, and offensive linemen were yelling at each other with missed assignments. The receiver was yelling at LaVecchio, David Gibbons, saying, I was wide open. This is a Notre Dame team that has not yet found the tempo of this football game. That's Jason Laura, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. The big lineman, number 70, you bet it is, being helped off to the sideline. Now Gross, the fellow who made that stop, back to return this punt by Joy Hilbold. Line drive. Looking for an out. To the 37-yard line. So the ball will be spotted at the 37-yard line.
There is a sideline warning on Notre Dame there first. TV timeout.
Absolutely nothing is going right for Notre Dame yet tonight. The overhead view of Memorial Stadium, a sellout for the 242nd consecutive time, and aerial coverage of tonight's game is provided by Tostitos. So the Irish trying to regroup, Gary. You said that the linemen yelling at each other down there on offense. They're trying to get their act together. Meanwhile, the Nebraska offense has Eric Crouch spinning to the 41-yard line and picking up about 3 yards.
Brent, usually with my game breakers, I take the offense from each team and say what they have to do. But in this game, it's pretty simple. There's 3 battles going on. There's the battle of the line of scrimmage, there's the special team battle, and there's the turnovers battle. And already, Nebraska has a check over in the turnovers. You know, usually I like to talk about, Brent, formations and drops and coverages and everything like that. Old-fashioned football tonight. Blocking, tackling, who controls the line of scrimmage?
So far, Nebraska is controlling both lines. Dietrich, the middle, first down at midfield. So Nebraska takes the opening kickoff and marches down for the first touchdown. This a 2-yard burst by Dietrich, their I-back. Then after the costly turnover, Eric Crouch's first touchdown pass of the season, 22 yards to John Gibson. And that's how we got there, with an Irish player down at the 42-yard line. Gary, there's been all this speculation about not playing a game gives a team an opportunity to really scout the other team. You cannot replace games, and Nebraska's had 2 of them, TCU and Troy State, and it is really showing up.
And it's not like they had to hide much. They used some plays, but they didn't show everything.
Well, let's check our Times Square studio in New York. Let's send you to John Saunders.
Brent here.
John, coaching that South Carolina team, he knows something about Notre Dame football. Crouch, great fake, middle, diving, almost intercepted by Notre Dame at the 30-yard line. It's 14-0 with 7 minutes to go here in the opening quarter.
And I think Nebraska got a hold that time on Grant Irons, number 44. A play-action pass, first down. That's when you like to use it. The defensive backs are looking to get a stop there. Big Grant was coming around the side and got grabbed. You know, one of Eric Crouch's goals this year is to throw for 2,000 yards. His arm looks very alive to me.
Offense, 10 yards from the previous spot. Repeat, first down.
And we check in with Jack Arute.
Well, Brent, the 6'2", 275-pound senior that we saw limping off the field, Jason Lohr, is out for the evening. He will not be playing anymore for the Nebraska Cornhuskers in the black shirts. They say he has a knee problem.
That is a big injury for Nebraska. One of the big fellas, the senior nose man, Jason Lohr, knocked out of the game. The defensive back, Walton, was the young man who was shaken up for the Irish over on the other sideline. Now Crouch, here has Dietrich, loose ball, Notre Dame goes for it, they've got it. Notre Dame recovers the fumble. Boyman pounces on the loose ball, and the Irish have an opportunity here to get right back in this game.
Boyman got the fumble, but it was Anthony Weaver, I believe, number 98, that made the play. Crouch checks to the option. It's the down-the-line option. But watch Weaver right at the end right here. He fights off the block, gets through, and strips the ball from Crouch, and there's Boyman to fall on it just before it goes out of bounds. 1 turnover apiece.
Now Matt LaVecchio, and the series couldn't get any bigger with John Clanton, 280-pound junior, checking in at nose tackle for Nebraska. LaVecchio with that short drop slant, incomplete, trying to hit Hunter, his speed receiver, the senior from Orchard Lake, Michigan. And he was well covered that time by Craver, who's as good as they come in the Big 12 on the corner.
Javen Hunter and David Givens were prepared to have big seasons a year ago. Arnez Battle breaks his wrist in the game against Nebraska. All of a sudden, Godfrey's playing tight end. It goes to quarterback, and then they go with a freshman, a much, much bigger offense this year than what they ran last year.
The ball was not snapped, and the offensive line was already moving. That's that timing we're talking about when you don't get down there and play games.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense, 5 yards, still second down.
Well, a program reminder that Monday night, Regis got game with Barkley, Bench, Young, Elway, and many more. It's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Sports Edition. That's Monday at 8, 7 Central. Or after Monday Night Football on the West Coast right here on ABC. Regis Philbin, one of the big Notre Dame fans in the country. I'm sure he's agonizing right now with his Irish down by 14. A penalty makes it 2nd and 15 now for Lavecchio. A full wide package for Lavecchio. He'll throw in underneath. So a conservative play call after they spread the field, and Tony Fisher hit by Lornell McPherson.
Now, that is a conservative play call because the receivers went downfield and blocked. They were not even eligible. There was no one else for Lavecchio to throw that ball to than to dump it off to his running back. It wasn't like he looked down and came off. That's the only guy that was eligible to catch a pass on that play. Very conservative.
John Owens back in at tight end, but the Irish need 16 yards for a first down on this 3rd down play. Lavecchio will try for it. He'll fire. He's got a man open. Incomplete. There was separation over there as Hunter had a little daylight. Had it been on the money, the Irish would have struck back.
Made the right decision. Had good protection. Jamin Hunter goes right through here. Straight down the field. Number 21. Good throw here. Sets him up to the outside, turns Gross around, number 5, and the ball is just slightly overthrown.
High snap. Big mistake on a special team. Free ball. Scooped up. 1st and goal for Nebraska. Justin Smith, the big defensive end, wrestles the ball down inside the 10-yard line.
Notre Dame, who made a living a year ago, winning special teams, not turning the ball over, keeping mental mistakes down to a minimum, making teams take the long route in field position. So far in this football game is handing Nebraska field position, turnovers, and big plays.
Irish eyes are not smiling here tonight. And it's 1st and goal with Eric Crouch and the Huskers. Timeout was called. Timeout was called by Courtney Watson, the linebacker. He went quickly toward the umpire just before the snap. He called the timeout.
Timeout called by Notre Dame.
So we'll take a break. The Huskers lead it by 14, and they're threatening again. Gary, it's embarrassing.
12 men on the field here again. 5 in the box, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the backfield. That's 12. 2 times Notre Dame, 12 men on the field.
Crouch up under center. Dietrich. Nothing doing that time. And Courtney Watson, number 33, steps in on the stop. And it is almost critical for them to hold Nebraska to a field goal here or force a turnover. The Irish already down by 14. Nebraska lethal in this arena. And if they start front running with that option, adios.
And this is where Nebraska really loves to run Eric Crouch.
Play fake to Dietrich. Crouch short of the end zone again. To the 2-yard line.
You know, for a long time, people have always said you come in and play Nebraska the last couple of years, you got to stop Eric Crouch. Well, the offense has been expanded so much that it's nearly impossible to do it. They'll put him into shotgun, they'll snap the ball to him, and he's almost like a tailback. That was a lead play for Eric Crouch. It wasn't even an option, almost an isolation play for the quarterback.
3rd down. And a goal. They load up with an extra blocker in the backfield. Dietrich spun in the air. great goal line stand here by the Fighting Irish. Anthony Weaver, the big defensive end, down at the bottom of that pile.
Penetration, that's what does it. Get inside, get back in that backfield, puts his head and shoulder on him before he really gets started. Huge by Notre Dame. When you're looking at total yards of -42, the score's 14-0 and the ball's inside the 10, your defense has to come through.
DeAngelis on for the field goal of 19 yards. He makes it, but the Irish have to feel good about that. 3 fine defensive plays, and that keeps Nebraska out of the end zone, but they still lead by 17. John Saunders, what's up with the Florida State Seminoles tonight? Yeah, John, you know, I'm thinking about home field advantages. Tallahassee, Lincoln, they don't get any tougher than those 2 venues right now. Gainesville, the Gators, the Hurricanes are rolling again. But the best conference, it appears to us, is going to be the Big 12 this year, folks. Nebraska just one of many outstanding teams in the Big 12 this year. We saw Oklahoma last year. They were ready to defend that championship. Then down Texas way, a team that showed a lot of defense today against North Carolina. Needs some work on that offensive line and needs some receivers to hold on to the football when Chris Sims throws it. There's Texas A&M, always dangerous. And how about the job that Bill Snyder always does at Kansas State? And now it is Nebraska, the 3rd of 8 home games. And it'll be Jones from the 15, and Alley on the right side to the 38-yard line. Well, ABC Sports presentation of college football is brought to you by Kia Motors, makers of a full line of quality cars at affordable prices. Mutual of Omaha, providing insurance and financial services, and Budweiser, with that crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. Matt Lavecchio trying to dig out of this huge hole here in the first half. Fumble! Jones put it on the ground and then pounced on it as we check in with Jaggeroo.
Well, Brent, you and Gary were talking about the rain that fell on the Fighting Irish when they got their first look at this Nebraska turf. So concerned were they about this turf that they tried to schedule a practice session on a field in Holland, Michigan last week that utilizes this same turf. But when the word got out, they had to cancel it because of an NCAA rule that says you can't publicize a practice session.
Arnez Battle, the one-time quarterback, in at the slot, high and incomplete. So a year ago, in the loss in South Bend, the Irish lost their starting quarterback, Arnez Battle. He also lost his job as a quarterback, and now the Irish using him as one of their wide receivers.
In that game last year, Notre Dame rushed for 184 yards. Arnez rushed for 107 of them himself from the quarterback spot.
The board says they're minus 53 here tonight, facing a 3rd and 13. Fires, intercepted by Gross. 40-yard line, looking for a block. And Gross is inside the 15.
Gross and Craver are dominating this football game on the defensive side. Man-to-man coverage to the outside. Watch this. No fear. That's the difference out here. I got you man-to-man. You can make all the moves you want. I'm right here. The ball's thrown upfield. You should never throw the ball inside on an out route. Bad throw from Lavecchio. But look at the coverage. Javen Hunter tries to pressure. Push off. Bad throw. Too far upfield. Lavecchio gets burned.
Now let's see if Solich and Crouch don't put it up here early from the 12-yard line. Fumble! Misfiring on the snap. And the Fighting Irish have it. They come out of there with their second turnover. And Donald Dykes, the free safety, recovers the fumble. Oh, what a save that is for Notre Dame.
What a weird football game so far. Nebraska is dominating. Center exchange, quick. John Garrison, first-year starter at center. Crouch obviously never even comes close to it. And when those guards and tackles are pulling, quarterback has a tough chance trying to get that ball back.
Julius Jones, number 22, will come back into the backfield.
Interesting, Nebraska starts with 13 men on the field on defense and then checks to see what formation Notre Dame uses and runs off 2 guys.
Notre Dame shows the power eye. It's the noisiest into the stadium. It's Jones to daylight. And Jones picks up 8 or 9 yards before Scott Shanley from St. Edward, Nebraska makes the stop. Well, last month, Tiger Woods captured the World Golf Championships, NEC Invitational. Now he looks to continue his winning ways at the World Golf Championships, American Express Championship. ABC's coverage begins next Saturday at 1 Eastern, 4 Pacific. With his helmet on is Carlisle Holiday, the sophomore from San Antonio. A whiz we expect to see at some point. And Jones looking very good, picking his daylight. Vedral makes the stop. It's a first down for Notre Dame. And folks, when 22 is in that backfield, it makes a difference for Notre Dame.
He's the game breaker. He led the team in attempted rushes last year. He's been injured, missed all of spring ball, was nicked all the way through fall camp, was just healthy to practice just this week.
First down at the 23-yard line. They're going to come right back with their running back. And he's wrestled down by Jamie Burrow, the middle linebacker, stepped into the hole.
You can see the power football. That is the strategy. Third-year offensive coordinator Kevin Rogers, years at Syracuse with Donovan McNabb. Notre Dame has the entire package, but they want to start out running that ball inside with the power.
Notre Dame with minus 33 rushing yards here tonight and minus 25 total yards. And he's hit for a loss there. Nothing doing again with Jamie Burrow, the middle linebacker, again making a stop.
Jamie Burrow read that one about as good as you can. He was 3 yards deep in the backfield. He saw the pulling lineman, and I guess if there's a question still about Notre Dame, Oregon State, I think in the Fiesta Bowl exposed them a little bit. Do they have the athletes that can play the speed game that college football has gone to? Because they're locking on outside, man-to-man, man-to-man, man-to-man at the bottom.
This is on his battle, short of the first down. Notre Dame is forced to punt again. They did not get to the marker. Vedral, the linebacker, defending that time. And the final seconds of the first quarter ticking away, and it's a quarter that Notre Dame dearly wants to forget about. This is not what they had in mind. That will bring the first quarter to an end. We had turnovers galore. 3 of them for the Irish on their first play from scrimmage. Then the bad snap, coughing it up. And finally, the gross interception. And Nebraska leads Notre Dame 17-0 at the end of 1. It's hard for the leprechaun to smile, though, folks. He turned it on for the TV camera. He was pretty glum before we came back. To the 35-yard line. Craver returning that punt for Nebraska. And so they will go on the attack to start the second quarter.
Even though we talked about that Notre Dame wanted to beat Nebraska at their own game, there's still a priority of the way the two teams would like to feature it. Nebraska obviously would like to feature the option, whereas Notre Dame really would like to take that as their last alert. You can see it. We're charting it. We'll show you all night how it unfolds. So far, I can tell you that Nebraska has just been running the power game right down the throat of Notre Dame.
Gibson's the motion man off the wing. Diedrich again. And he's stopped in the hole after a couple of yards by that Irish front. Notre Dame appeared a little shaky defensively earlier, but it seems as though that they're tightening up a little bit. And one of the ringleaders down there has been Anthony Weaver. Weaver's a big-time football player, number 98, and he's making it tough sledding down there.
Weaver and Irons both have played very well so far in this game. It's been right between the tackles they've had the problems.
And that's where Nebraska attacks, right between the tackles, and they are short of that first down, trying to stay away from the defensive ends. And 1st and 10 is brought to you this quarter by Chevy Trucks.
Look at how Nebraska keeps all those guys over there. 14 or 15 players for different formations that they can run in very quickly. Notre Dame is basically stuck as Carlisle Holiday warms up.
And Crouch has been held to 13 yards with 6 carries. So he'll hand off to Diedrich, who pounds for the first down right up the middle, and that'll give Diedrich 50 yards on the night. Watson makes the stop.
Notre Dame cannot beat Nebraska if Nebraska just has to run their power game and nothing else. Notre Dame has to force Nebraska to take chances. They haven't even pitched a ball yet on an option. They've just been able to run a conservative game plan and stuff it right down the Irish throat.
You saw that shot of Frank Solich over there on the sideline. He still orchestrates all his own plays. He's the offensive coordinator as well as the head coach. You talk about a tough job these days. 1st and 10 for the Big Red. And Crouch is going down at the 37-yard line. Big Mr. Anthony Weaver.
That's a matchup Notre Dame loves. An inexperienced tackle against Weaver on the outside. A first down drop back call by Fritz. Coming from the outside right there on Waltrip, number 68. Oh, it's slow. Did not get off the ball and actually had a missed assignment. Turned outside to block number 30, Boyman, that time, and just turned Weaver loose to the quarterback. Missed assignment.
2nd down and 20. And the ND defense starting to attack. The quarterback draw won't get anything. He probably won't get credit for the full tackle, but Weaver closing down hard from that end spot, and Harrison also there on the stop. So Eric Crouch out of Omaha, and he's a regular volunteer back at the hospital where his mom works. And he sang in a couple of fundraising musicals in his last season here at Nebraska. They're a record-breaking all-everything quarterback and certainly a strong candidate for the Heisman Trophy. He's on everybody's watch list this year. 3rd down and 17 for Crouch. Play fake, has to fire, incomplete. He was under a heavy rush late, and he had to throw it, and it was low, intended for Wilson Thomas, who's been shut out here so far tonight. And Nebraska is forced to punt it away, and so the Notre Dame defense starting to tighten the screws a little bit. Now the question is, you saw the young man warming up, Carlisle Holiday, who was heavily recruited not only in South Bend, but right here in Nebraska. Can Carlisle Holiday come on and give this Irish offense a lift? Kyle Larson, one of the better punters in the Midwest, back deep. Julius Jones set to return for Notre Dame. Jones from the 19. Out of bounds at the 23-yard line. It's a moment that every Notre Dame quarterback waits for. When do you get to take your first snap? Will it be Holiday? We'll find out. There was an enormous tug-of-war between these two schools for Carlisle Holiday from San Antonio. But the coaches here at Nebraska feel heavily that his father wanted Notre Dame all the time. And here he is, his first series ever as a Notre Dame quarterback. He steps in with Fisher, his running back. He's a brilliant runner. He hands off to Fisher. Fisher to daylight. Explodes 40, 50. Run out of bounds inside the 45-yard line. And hey, Gary Danielson, just changing quarterbacks do that?
Well, Matt LaVecchio's not happy about that, I can tell you. At least they got the snap, they handed it off cleanly, and they got blocking up front. That's what you have to do. Just start out with the basics. That offensive line finally for Notre Dame is just see a little grab right there. I thought Notre Dame just kind of hog-tied, and maybe that's one of the reasons they got through there also.
Sean Mahan, the left guard, the senior, coming up with that bulldogging block that helped open the way for a 35-yard run. And so now Holiday will try to keep him driving. Here he is, number 7. And he breaks the 40-yard line with John Clanton hanging on for the stop here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Another sellout, 242 consecutive. Early in the game, the Irish had the bobbles, and Nebraska made them pay with that touchdown pass. They added the field goal after that to give them a 17-point lead here tonight with 11 minutes to go in the first half. But Frank Solich better not rest easy, because Bob Davies got a new weapon on the field right now, and Davies' defense is starting to tighten the screws here on Nebraska. 2nd down and 7. What the Irish must have is a scoring strike from the shotgun. Holiday drops it off complete. That's to David Gibbons, but you know that's got to settle him down. It's a high percentage completion. They didn't get it downfield. Craver making the stop, but you can just imagine how that settles a young man when you complete your first pass. Jackaroo.
Well, Brent, as you said, it was a tug of war between the Fighting Irish and Nebraska here for Carlisle Holiday's services. But you know who did the most recruiting for Carlisle Holiday for the Huskers? It was defensive coordinator Greg Bohl. I think you might want to break out some of those recruiting tapes and take a look at this kid.
He already had an idea, he told us, that Holiday would see some action tonight. Holiday studying that defense. The Huskers, pretty base look. 4 rushmen against Holiday. Nothing doing. And it'll be
that's some of the patience that you have to get in the pocket. Carlisle Holiday that time took off way too quickly.
Here is our Aflac trivia question. What is, folks, and who wore the only permanently retired number in Nebraska football history? There's only one. See if you can think of the number. Think of some of the great players.
Well,
Go back.
Like Notre Dame is going to go for it here. Or are they going to try to draw an offsides? It's more than 5 yards.
They're down by 17. Their defense is playing pretty well. You got to get points. You got to go.
I punt the ball.
I'd go. Carlisle back, baby. Looking for him, and he's got it. First down. He put the ball in Hunter's hands, and the Irish moved the chains.
I went out Thursday and watched Notre Dame practice, and Holiday has a tremendous physique, a tremendous arm. He wasn't as far along as Matt LaVecchio a year ago, and that's why Matt got the call. But you can see on the outside, they went after the man-to-man coverage to the outside, and watch this zip. He has hardly any wasted motion. The ball gets out there in a hurry, and he's a runner and a passer, and he's got a huge physique.
He's completed his first couple of throws. Tom in that shotgun, gonna run the quarterback draw to daylight. Here's Holiday, turns the corner. Oh yeah, he'll bring the sparkle back to those Irish eyes. DeJuan Gross finally gets him out of bounds, and this is what Notre Dame needed, is number 7, who, folks, on the field is the closest physique to Michael Vick. Now, I'm not putting him in that class, but I want to tell you, when you get down there next to the young man and you watch him throw and he snaps him off, you say, oh my goodness, this young man got to play some football, and here he is.
Kevin Rogers, the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, said you must force yourself to play this guy. Even if he knows he doesn't have the experience, he's too good to let sit on the bench.
He has brought a special wrinkle to the Irish attack. Can he finish it off? There was movement by the defensive front. Tony Fisher pulled off, but I believe Nebraska violated the neutral zone.
Brought down by Des Moines Adams. Penalty flags on the play.
Offside on the defense. 5 yards. 1st and 5.
Well, Monday night joined ABC for the regular season premiere of Monday Night Football. The NFC champion New York Giants travel to Denver to face the Broncos in their brand new stadium Monday night, live at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, right here on ABC. Al and Dan and Dennis, they could have a good one for you on Monday night. King football returns, college and pros. And the defensive coordinator very concerned now. This is a different looking Irish attack with number 7 under center. Here's Fisher. Stacked up, and I don't think he was too sure what was going to happen on that play.
No, what happens and why Tony Fisher was trying to hear what Carlisle was saying, they get to the line of scrimmage and they have a high-low, and he said right there, I can't hear. They'll go low to this side, which would be an odd number, or to the right, an even number. So the quarterback gets up there and says, 355, odd number, go to the left, or 266, even number, run it to the right. Fisher couldn't hear whether it was odd or even.
And that middle linebacker, Burrow, stepped into that hole again. 2nd down and 6 for Carlisle Holiday. Nothing doing. The sea of red was ready, and Burrow amongst them.
Yeah, Bedrell, number 9, did a great job of turning that play inside to the linebacker for Nebraska. Really interesting, Craig Bohl, who recruited Carlisle Holiday, he was the guy in charge of getting him. He told us yesterday, I think I understand what Carlisle does best. Number 1, he likes to take chances. I understand that, and I'll call my defenses knowing that. He knew he'd play, right, Brett? He knew he'd play.
Absolutely. So if he takes chances, he might like that quarterback draw again. 3rd down and 5. Got to hurry. They violated the time clock. Inside shuttle pass.
Too long. Yep. They got called.
The young man has to be very conscious of the 25-second clock. It is off to his right.
There was no play. Delay a game on the offense. 5 yards. Still 3rd down.
It's really just off to his right, about 1 o'clock, right in front of the quarterback as you're going in there. There it is. Straight ahead is the goalpost. Just look just to your right at 1 o'clock, and there it is, beaten down and never slows down either.
So, with a timeout called, 7:07 until halftime, we'll take a break. Notre Dame threatening. 3rd down.
Arnett's battle right here in the slot.
They're giving him a big cushion. If it's going to be 3, he should be able to find daylight. Holiday going to take off to the left. Fire high, wanted, battle incomplete.
And that was the guy to go to. Yep, that's who he wanted to go to. When we talked to Kevin Rogers and Bob Davie, he said, he's doing, look at that space right there. Holiday comes back out from under center. Actually, they're playing in and out on him right here. Look at that, keep it in there. Holiday did a good job of reading that. If he'd have thrown it, it would have been intercepted. He comes to him late and then just throws the ball a little high. Good read by Carlisle Holiday that time.
Nick Setta to attempt the field goal. Adam Tibble, remember there was a bad snap on a punt earlier in this game for the Irish. They need a good snap, trying to get on the board. And Setta puts Notre Dame on the scoreboard. So the Irish take heart. Bob Davie's defense starting to play a little bit better against the Big Red here. And backup quarterback Carlisle Holiday trying to settle into that comfort zone. And now it's time for our Pacific Life game summary. Eric Crouch handing to Diedrich, who powered in for the first touchdown. Then Crouch's first touchdown pass of the season for the second. DeAngelos adding the field goal. It was 17-0 before the Irish just moments ago kicked a field goal with Nick Setta to make it 17-3 with 6:57 to go. And now what Notre Dame wants more than anything is a stop now and a chance to make it 17-10 or 17-6 before the intermission.
The last time Nebraska had the ball, Frank Solich went for a little bit of a changeup, calling 2 drop-back passes He got sacked once and was forced to throw, Eric Crouch was, early out of the pocket. Nebraska has only won one option play in the game. Look for that to be uncovered and start to be used here.
And there was a fumble on a pitch, remember, and they turned it over on that option run. Josh Davis. Huge hole. Davis to the 40. To midfield and across. What a return by number 25, Josh Davis, the I-back from Loveland, Colorado.
You don't think Nebraska is sick of hearing how Notre Dame beat them in special teams last year? That 317 yards has been sticking in their craw since that game a year ago. Nebraska looks like they're geared up to win this phase of the game, and they're dominating so far.
First down and 10. Diedrich searches, nothing doing, gained about a yard. Now earlier we asked you this Aflac trivia question. What's the only permanently retired number in Nebraska history? And who wore it? Go back in time. Johnny Rogers maybe? Nope. Dave Remington? Nope. That man right there. Trainwreck Novak. And folks, he played against Notre Dame back in 47 and 48. Has 11 career interceptions, played both ways. One of the greatest names in Nebraska football history. And Crouch. Just short of a first down, I believe, with Rocky Boyman. And let's go to Jackaroo.
Well, Brent, you say that this man, Carlisle Holiday, reminds you a lot of Michael Vick. Well, he has about the same off-field demeanor. He came over here, talked to Kevin Rogers on the phone, sat down, listened to some instructions, and then just started smiling.
Oh, to be young and a Notre Dame quarterback.
Yeah.
With the lights dancing in Lincoln, Nebraska, you got a chance to put your name up there with the legends if you can bring the Irish back. But right now, third and short. Diedrich pounds first down. And Gary put his finger on it a short time ago when he said they're trying to run right between the tackles.
It's unbelievable. 2 option plays in the game so far. They are running right inside against Notre Dame. Notre Dame knew that they would have to stop the power game, but they feared the option game because of the big plays. They're not even forcing Nebraska to get to the option game where they could force some mistakes like the fumble recovery Boyman had out early in the game.
Nothing doing for fullback Judd Davies. Andy Wisney making the stop for the Irish here on first down.
Wisney and Campbell to 2 inside tackles. Must get stiffer inside.
Second down and 9. We've had 5 turnovers here in the first half. 3 by the Irish and 2 by Nebraska. Wilson Thomas, number 9, is out to Crouch's left. He's been shut out here. Deep, deep drop for the screen. And Diedrich has the play busted up by Clifford Jefferson, the corner who came up fast on the read and made the tackle. By Clifford Jefferson. And aerial coverage tonight's game is provided by Tostitos.
Clifford Jefferson made a huge play. That was a screen pass set up very well that time with 2 blockers out in front. If Jefferson doesn't come off his receiver and make that play, it's at least a first down. 3rd and long, not exactly what Nebraska does well.
They'll call a timeout and they'll talk about it. They lead it 17-3 with 3:56 to go in the first half. Expect Eric Crouch to put it up for the 6th time tonight. He's 3 of 5 for 31 yards. His longest being that 22-yard scoring pass to John Gibson. He'll take it from the shotgun look. Middle Wistrom, first down. And Notre Dame let the go-to guy run free in the middle of the field to the 17-yard line. You cannot give Wistrom a cushion like that. It's 24 yards.
Didn't even take an All-American to do this. He just comes out. Watch the opening in the zone right here. Notre Dame runs a zone blitz. Zone blitz. 5 men come in, but look at only 6 people in the zones back here. That keeps it real open inside. When you only have 6 guys in a zone, there's too many holes. You better get to the quarterback.
On 1st and 10, the pitch now to Dietrich. Inside the 10-yard line to the 9. Courtney Watson making the stop. But you go back to the go-to guy. That had to be the #1 thought of the defensive coaches of Notre Dame. And Tracy Wistrom told us how defense is key on him.
I get a little more attention than I'd have in the years past, and you know, it's just something I have to work with. That all great tight ends have been able to find a way to get open, and that's the way I approach every situation. That no matter they put 1, 2, 3 guys on me, I've got to find a way to get open so Eric can get me the ball.
He just ran to daylight as Dietrich does here, pounding inside the 3-yard line with Harrison bringing him down, and the Big Red threatening again.
You want to run the ball inside. Of course, you have to block up front, but you also has to have your fullback. This time, number 4, Judd Davies. Watch this. Isolation play. They've been running it here forever. Isolate on the linebacker right there. Wham! That's what you have to do to run the ball inside. Look at that space that the linebacker had to fill for. No way you can stop.
Watch Crouch inside the 5. He loves it on a keeper. They'll go to Dietrich first, and he got his 2nd touchdown. Just pounding behind the middle of the Nebraska offensive line. Dietrich scores for the 2nd time tonight.
I have never seen Notre Dame knocked off the ball like this. Nebraska doesn't have to run their option game because they just don't need to risk it. They're running right between the tackles.
15 carries, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the young man from Canada, Darren Dietrich.
They could have a tailback from Puerto Rico. It doesn't matter with that type of blocking. And I don't care how old he is either.
Yes, indeed. Danny Almonte could have carried it behind
this one.
Blocking right here. But instead, it's Darren Dietrich from Canada, his 2nd touchdown of the game. And it's 24-3 after the DeAngelis extra point. And the Sea of Red loving it. ABC Sports presentation of college football brought to you by Chevy Trucks. The most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. Original Coors. Nothing beats an original. And Aflac. Without it, no insurance is complete. Our scene was 78,118 on hand.
Then when I went out to Notre Dame and visited their practice on Thursday, Bob Davie told me he's much more comfortable being more involved with the X's and O's. He's hands-on now with that defense. Right now, he wishes his players would be helmets on the guys running the ball. But you know, that 3rd down and long, there's really no excuse. You go into that zone defense, you have to account for that tight end and take away the go-to guy right in front of the quarterback.
Well, we got 2:57, and then we'll be checking in with John and Terry. And here's young DeAngelis. Jones again from the goal line. To the 23. Let's find out what's cooking for halftime, and let's send you to John Saunders in New York. The early part of this season, they've gone to Colorado. They beat the Buffaloes, a Big 12 team. Then they went home. They picked off a Pac-10 team, Oregon State. And today, Wisconsin in Madison.
Things will never be the same for Matt LaVecchio again. It's going to be like Tom Brady at Michigan when Drew Henson was behind him. Matt LaVecchio is going to have to concentrate every series because for the rest of his career, he's going to hear about Carlisle Holiday.
LaVecchio hit from behind at the 24-yard line. Jamie Burrow along with Smith in on that play.
The quarterback position is so unique. Very difficult to play too, but more and more teams are trying to do it.
2nd and 8, 2:24. Incomplete. So it'll be third down. Well, last month, Tiger Woods captured the World Golf Championships, NEC Invitational. Now he looks to continue his winning ways at the World Golf Championships, American Express Championship. ABC's coverage begins next Saturday at 1 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Third down and 8 for Lavecchio and the Irish.
Look at the difference. Nebraska's right up there taking away all the throws.
Incomplete as he threw behind the receiver, Hunter.
Javen Hunter's having a tough time getting separation to the outside against Gross. The difference, Nebraska, confidence in their corners. They've been playing this system for a while. They do not fear Notre Dame's receivers at all.
Also deep for the Huskers, number 3, Keel Kramer.
Joey Hilbold to punt, and DeJuan Gross back that time, along with Craver. So they send 2 deep men back. And here's Craver from the 30-yard line. Got a hole. Oh, ran into his own man, I believe, just close to the 50-yard line. There was an Irish player there, too, and traffic jam, and down he goes.
I think it was Donald Dykes that got that hit, number 28, the free safety, going down on the punt return, too. Boy, that was a collision. 2 minutes to go. Every play in your playbook is available to you if you're Nebraska. A senior quarterback, he's seen it all. He's been through it all. He's run this offense now for 4 years. I suspect he'll put points on the board.
Diedrich, left side. 6 yards.
But Diedrich looks good, doesn't he? That play was designed to go inside, bounced it outside, and picks up 6 yards on the play. With Alexander and Buckholter a year ago, the big backs, the power game inside was good, but he didn't have that ability to break it outside like that play by Diedrich.
Not just the number we told you, but he'll show you some Amon Green moves.
He does remind you of Green.
Second down and 4. Crouch changes things for the outside receivers.
When he audibles, he likes to audible to the option.
Here it comes. Diedrich. Short of the first down. 1:16 left.
Eric Crouch is always looking for the opportunity to go to the option game. That's the big play he feels in the offense. That's when he can really gash the defense by cutting back, finding that lane, and taking it all the way to the house.
So it's third down and 3. Troy Hasselbrook, a tight end, flexes out to the left, and now Wistrom's off the line too. Diedrich, first down inside the 40-yard line. Clock stops with 41 ticks left here in the first half.
Look how subtle Nebraska is. Tracy Wistrom flexes out at the tight end. You think, uh-oh, here it comes again. That little pass over the middle, and what do? Right up the middle. It's basic a play. A lot of formations, but very similar plays over and over again.
On first down, Crouch. Wistrom again. First down inside the 25-yard line. His brother, a great All-American defensive end here at Nebraska, now playing with the St. Louis Rams. And his brother, the tight end, doing a job here in Lincoln tonight.
This time he had Israel man-to-man, beats him so easily, just rolls inside. Harrison, the linebacker, should have helped inside out, but he wasn't there.
Nebraska needs to hurry. 15 seconds on first down. Crouch play fake, goes for it, Wistrom's got it, down. First down, clock will stop with 5 seconds. They have time to get the field goal unit quickly on the field. What will Nebraska do here?
They kick the field goal, don't they? They call timeout first. I don't know if you could get one more play into the end zone and still have time. Watch how Crouch throws this as he's backing up. Wistrom goes to the corner, the back goes out to the side, but watch Crouch, number 7. He throws it as he's backing up. just outside of your screen, throws it, gets it out there. They went for it all, and boy, I don't know if he got out of bounds. They had the first down. That's why the clock stopped.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
24-3 is our score here in Lincoln, Nebraska. With Jack Arute and Gary Danielson, I'm Brent Musburger. So Tracy Wistrom, 4 catches for 71 yards. He set up this touchdown by Diedrich, his second of the night. Diedrich, 18 carries for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. And now 5 seconds left, and the ball on the 4-yard line.
What do you do here now? You know,
field goal.
This extension only takes 0.2 seconds.
No doubt.
No question. Don't even think about it.
You got to kick the field goal. 27-3 go in. You get points on the board. It's a successful 2-minute drive. Put the points on. Everybody cheers, and you're happy.
Need to attempt a field goal.
Frank Solich coaching with a heavy heart here tonight, but he has to be awfully pleased with what he's seen here. As DeAngelis, he's a low kicker. Well, that one was very flat as it went between the uprights.
Followed the scouting
for 3 more points. But earlier, Frank Solich's father passed away. And Frank, of course, was very close with his father, who was a coal miner. Raised him, was very proud of what his young man has accomplished. And certainly we send along our condolences to the entire Solich family on the death of Frank's father. Right now, let's check in with Jack Arute.
Well, Brent, one of the things that's going to happen for Frank Solich tomorrow morning is he will board an airplane to go back to Ohio to attend a memorial service on Monday for his father. One of the great stories I know he told both you and I was the fact that when his father moved here last November, Frank would go to visit him on a regular basis. And when his father got iller and iller, and he couldn't talk anymore, his dad was still very concerned about Frank's work ethic. And he would come into the hospital room, he'd spend about 3 minutes, and his father would shoo him out the door, meaning that maybe he should go back to work coaching the football squad.
Yeah, Jack, you know, when you work in the coal mines like his father did, you got that work ethic, and you never lose it. And he's the reason why Frank Solich was brought up the right way, and is such a nice man to be around, and has handled the pressure of replacing Congressman Tom Osborne so well here in Nebraska. You talk about a tough spot for a guy to step into.
And remember, he took over the job not as just head coach, but as play caller too, because Tom Osborne used to call the plays.
Final second of the first half. Notre Dame must regroup. They have to grow up quickly. This is the 3rd game Nebraska has played this season. This is the season opener for the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, and it shows. 27-3, Huskers with the lead. Right now, let's send you to New York. John Saunders and Terry Bowden. John. And 200 total yards of offense for Nebraska compared with 43 for Notre Dame. So, Gary, Bob Davie and the Irish, they've got some real problems here trying to get their act together in the second half.
Yeah, Brent, everybody talked about how big of a factor it was Nebraska having 2 games. It's probably bigger than any of us even thought it was. I think if Bob Davie had to do it over again, he might accept an opportunity to play a game and match at least 1 game before this thing. But I suspect that he will try everything and anything, and that means Carlisle Holiday.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly he was offered a preseason game in one of the Bulls, but the Irish passed that up. And so here they are. They will have the ball to start the second half. Jones is back with Givens. DeAngelis kicks it off. Jones driven deep in the end zone. Let's make sure he didn't touch that ball. It'll be down in the end zone by Givens. Let's check in with Jack Arute.
Well, Brent, I talked to Frank Solich, and he preached at halftime about missed opportunities by his squad. He also told me look for them to put the ball in the air more with Eric Crouch in the second half. Bob Davie, on the other hand, took his Fighting Irish into the locker room and said, our season has not started. He didn't play worth a darn in the first half. This is the beginning of our season, and he's going to kick it off with Carlisle Holiday under the center.
Yep.
So here comes Carlisle Holiday. He'll start the second half, and we're joined by a very special guest here we'll be talking to shortly. And they will hand off to number 12, Tony Fisher. I am so used to introducing him as Coach Tom Osborne instead of Congressman Tom Osborne. But, Tom, what does it feel like to be sitting up here in the sky watching the Cornhuskers?
Well, it's always a little different, Brant. It's very difficult sometimes for me to watch a game because I love coaching so much. But Nebraska's playing well. It's a great night. It's a good showcase for Nebraska football.
Stick with us for a few plays here. Would you mind, Tom? Second down now for the Irish. And there's a penalty flag. There was movement down in the middle, as you saw down there. Tom, as a former coach, how big of an advantage was it for Nebraska to have 2 games under their belt and Notre Dame come in here for their season opener?
Well, I think it's a big advantage. I talked to Frank Solich about it a week or 2 ago, and we both agreed. One thing that we always tried to do when I was coaching was to make sure that didn't happen to us. Sometimes the scheduling gets away from you, and probably nothing Notre Dame could do about it. But it does give you a good shakedown. And, of course, that first quarter, pretty well showed the fact that Nebraska had played and Notre Dame hadn't. But Nebraska's playing very well, too.
Coach, you've had so many quarterbacks that run your system. Have you seen one better than the way Eric Crouch fits this system?
No, Eric's a great runner, and, of course, he's throwing better now, too.
Yeah.
I think his shoulder's better, and that's going to really help him.
Carlisle Holiday under center for Notre Dame. Fisher bounces out to about the 34-yard line, and the stop made by Jamie Burrow. And Tom, Jamie Burrow has stepped in, and he's been impressive as a middle linebacker. I know Coach Solich was concerned when the season started about that position.
Yeah, his dad, Jimmy Burrow, played for us back in the 70s, was a walk-on kid out of Mississippi, just about 170 pounds. And his dad is now a graduate assistant in Nebraska. He coached at Iowa State at one time, but Jamie's a great player.
So there is the young man Coach Osborne's referring to, number 48. Second down now. Complete and out of bounds short of the first down. And now it is time for our Morgan Stanley well-connected storyline.
Well, we talked about what Nebraska would like to do. Everybody says you got to stop the option play, but tonight that has not been the story. 23 plays. It's been power football right at the teeth of this Notre Dame defense. Only 3 options, and I think, Coach, they probably run 3 play-action passes, and they haven't even run the option that many times.
Well, that's right, and Notre Dame obviously worked on the option. They strung it out pretty well. They got great secondary support. Their safeties are up tight. And I think that's one reason why Nebraska is trying to run at them inside. And I think eventually, though, you're going to see an option or 2 here later in the game.
Yeah, Frank Solich, we talked about it. Usually when a coach takes over a coaching job, he has at least been calling plays. You called plays, so Frank actually had to take over 2 jobs when he took over your job.
That's right. He's done a great job, and Nebraska's playing well tonight.
Here's the 3rd and 2 for the Irish. A wishbone look. First down. Terrence Howard. Boy, that wishbone, you look down there, Coach, and that reminds you some wars you and Barry Switzer had around
that
here.
brings chills up and down my spine. But I tell you, nobody ever ran it better than those guys, and they have great athletes to do it. And of course, early on, you only played it 1 time a year, and that was so hard to get ready for the wishbone in 1 week. But as we saw more of it, we got better at it.
Here's a first down now for Notre Dame. Coming out to the 44-yard line. This is Jones for about 3 yards. Tom, did you have many years in which you had 8 home games like the Cornhuskers do this year?
I don't think so. I can remember a couple years we had 7, but 8 is certainly something you like to see as a coach. I think Notre Dame, it has the players to play. It's just that they got down so quickly, so fast that it's kind of taken them out of their game plan. But they're able to knock you off the ball a little bit. I'm sure they're going to have a good team.
Hey, Coach, you've had such a great winning record as a football coach. How you doing as a congressman? What's your record over there so far?
Well, I don't know how you keep score in Congress. That's my big problem.
Second down. Holiday. Sacked, and it'll be 3rd and long.
He had Arnez Battle that time. You really don't get a guy much more open than that in college football. Holiday, not used to it, tries to run. That's one he should have thrown to Arnez Battle coming across.
Well, our 1st and 10 line is brought to you this quarter by Pontiac.
The two-quarterback system, Coach, have you ever seen it work very well? Did you have much experience with it?
We've tried it a little bit. That's why you like to have sort of a shakedown game, a breather early. But it's hard to do it against Nebraska to alternate quarterbacks.
That's for sure.
The Irish 1 of 8 on that conversion on 3rd down just a short time ago. The left tackle broke the snap count. So this will come against the Fighting Irish. And, you know, Coach, when the conference was formed, you and I talked about how we thought the Big 12 was going to be a power conference. It took a few years. But now as you look around, it is the #1 conference in the country this year. I mean, there are not many breathers around here anymore.
Well, I think there's a lot of great teams. Even though Colorado lost early, they're still going to have a very good team. And Kansas State played very well against USC today. And then, of course, you've got Texas and Oklahoma. And probably A&M's not too bad. And so there are going to be a lot of great teams.
Here is 3rd down and 16 for the Irish. They'll be forced to punt if they don't reach the 45-yard line. Ball was coming loose, and Holiday battled to keep it in his grasp, showing some strength there. So we're at the top of the hour, Lincoln, Nebraska, where they have won 15 straight home games, and they're well on their way to number 16, leading 27-3.
The game has changed so much. 3rd and long, and Nebraska puts their 2 corners up on the 2 wide receivers and plays bump and run all over the field. Used to be a deep zone every time.
Low returnable, and it'll be Gross. Middle, penalty flags. Breaks free at midfield, but there are flags down.
Woo, look at that pull-away speed.
To the end zone. But there are a couple of penalty flags. And if there was a block in the back, Tom, that 75-yard run will be coming back.
Well, it looked like some clips. At first, I didn't think they were going to catch it, but it was pretty obvious right there in the middle of the field. And, of course, that would have been a backbreaker. I think Notre Dame's already in a pretty good hole, but that would have finished them off right there.
And as good as Nebraska's offense is going right now, Eric Crouch is saying it's fine with me. I'll go out there and score with offense.
10 yards from the spot of the foul. 1st down.
There's Terrence Howard, who was shaken up and being helped off to the sideline here.
Yeah, you can see it. Number 21 right there pushes him right from behind. That's the first block in the back. And then 2 missed tackles. And then watch the explosive speed as he breaks away as Gross just gets to the outside. And in Keo Craver and Gross, you see 2 corners who can run.
So we'll take a break. Nebraska leads it 27-3. They start their fans young here, Coach. They're great Nebraska fans in this state. I know you had backing for years, and now Frank Solich has it.
Well, it's a tremendous atmosphere, and of course, the one thing that really helps is you have only one major university in the state. Usually, you got Kansas, Kansas State, Auburn, Alabama, and so there's no divided loyalty here. And of course, they've become pretty sophisticated, and I'm a little prejudiced, but I think they're pretty accepting of the other team. You know, they really show a lot of respect, and most people feel they're treated well when they're here.
Absolutely. I was here, Tom, when the last, and you remember it well, Major Applewhite, Texas winning that game, and your fans gave Texas an ovation as they left the field, and we saw a sign that Frank Solich is celebrating his 57th birthday here today. So happy birthday, and we'll remind you again on Monday night, join ABC for the regular season premiere of Monday Night Football. The NFC champion New York Giants travel to Denver to face the Broncos in their brand new stadium. Monday night live at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ABC. Well, I would guess, Tom, that there's no better birthday present for a Nebraska coach than win over Notre Dame. Do you remember when Frank Leahy came in here with his team the last time Notre Dame played in Nebraska? Were you?
I wasn't. I don't think I was around. Brett,
I guess I'm the only one older than I remember that.
I can't believe that I'm older than you are, but I don't remember that. I remember very well playing them in the Orange Bowl in 1973. And we put Johnny Rogers at tailback. He'd always been a wingback, and Johnny kept telling us he could be a tailback, so we stuck him back there, and I think he rushed for 100-some yards and did it all. You know?
Coach, what do you attribute the great success and the longevity of success to the program?
I think the continuity of the coaching staff and the loyalty. You just don't have many people coming and going here.
Well, here is the continuity with Eric Crouch, the senior honor center, and again, pounding right ahead. Let's find out about the U.S. Tennis women's final. Let's send you to John Saunders in New York. John? Now, older sisters are like older brothers. You know, you can't beat them. Here's the toss around the right side. Before we let you go, I want to ask you about Darren Diedrich, the young man who's the I-back. I've been saying tonight, reminds me a little bit of Amon Green. It's not just the 30, but he runs a little bit like it.
Yeah, he's really a good player. I remember seeing films on him. Frank Solich brought the films back from Canada, and I thought, you know, this is a great player, and not many people were recruiting him. And then he had to sit behind some good players for a while, but he obviously is the class of our running backs right now, and he's playing very well tonight.
Third down. The Huskers need 4 yards. Diedrich will get it. There he is again. Just what Congressman Tom Osborne told you. A first down for Nebraska. Tom, we want to send you on back to your family. We really appreciate you coming down to say hello.
Well, thanks, Ben. It's always good to see you and Gary. And want to wish you both well. Okay, thank you.
And watch this run. Diedrich not only hits the hole, but watch him get his both feet as he gallops through. He picks up his feet and then gets them back down on the turf. Sign of a great running back, being able to cut and move with both feet at the same time.
And he hits 100 with that run.
Okay.
20 carries for 100 yards.
Well, we talked about the 2 styles that each team wanted to use in this game, but look what's evolved for Nebraska. Everybody thought it was option. 26 times they've run the ball right at Notre Dame. Notre Dame has not even got it going so far in this game. Not enough plays. They've not been able to establish anything. And look at this. 13 times they've been forced to throw the ball out of the pocket. Not something Notre Dame wanted to do in this football game.
On second down, here comes the end around. And the Irish were ready for this play. Clifford Bry not getting much out of it, and now our Pacific Life game summary. And let's back up what Gary told you. Darren Diedrich, he scored 2 touchdowns here tonight. He's rushed 20 times for 100 yards, and he has been the main man for the Huskers.
Yeah, the Diedrich, and how about those 5 guys up front too?
Oh yeah, Volk, Fanotti, John Garrison, Rutherford, and Waldrop. They deserve a big ovation tonight. Third down. Snap pass incomplete.
Well, Crouch is good at that now.
Penalty
he has
flag.
really improved, being able to throw off balance.
So Shane Walton was defending Wilson Thomas.
You know, Eric Crouch was a run-and-shoot quarterback in high school.
Holding on the offense. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
And you know who he kind of reminds me of? He reminds me of Zach Kustok, the quarterback at Northwestern. He's able to move. He's got a 4.6 type 40, 4.5 type 40, and he throw very athletically.
Solich not pleased. You can see his reaction with the offense coming off the field. Kyle Larson back to punt. Julius Jones will fair catch it inside the 20-yard line. Nebraska in control. 27-3 over Notre Dame. Timeout. And now, folks, Nebraska weather. A little light rain, and folks are putting on their parkas around and the black shirts. That's the defense here at Nebraska. They've held Notre Dame to 57 total yards here tonight and 1 field goal. And there you can see them ride Holiday right down to the ground that time. He never had a chance. Bingham, Wichman, they've got some reserves in there now with Hollowell, and you can see in our lights here in Lincoln the rain starting to fall.
You have to wonder what Matt LaVecchio is thinking right now. Last year he took this team as a freshman 7 wins. They averaged 423 yards a game with him as a quarterback. And now it's turned over to a sophomore who never had any experience coming into this game.
2nd and 11 before the snap. Well, they've got a week to get ready for their second one, and we'll remind you right after the call what's coming up there is C next Saturday.
Defense, 5 yards, still 2nd down.
So we will bring you great college football regional action, and at 3:30 some of you will see Notre Dame in their second game at Purdue or Washington. The big comeback win over Michigan today, taking on Miami. And folks, if there's a better football team in the country than Miami right now, well, we'll just have to wait and see how that unfolds. They look pretty good down there. 2nd down and 6. Maybe it's those rascals at Fresno State. And, they jump down that line again here.
This has just been a nightmare for Notre Dame.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense, 5 yards, remain 2nd down.
You mentioned it's starting to rain, and it's coming down hard now. Notre Dame's going into the wind, the rain, and they've already had the downpour hit them in the first half. Nebraska.
Carlisle Holiday under fire.
Look at Nebraska challenge at the line of scrimmage. Those corners still.
Quarterback draw to the 20-yard line. An ABC Sports presentation of college football brought to you by the 2002 Pontiac Bonneville. Luxury with attitude. Pacific Life. Annuities, insurance, investments. Discover the power of Pacific Life. And Verizon Wireless. Join in.
Sorry, you're not going to beat Nebraska unless you attack their man-to-man coverage to the outside. You can't allow them to bump and run your receivers all over the field and not attack that one-on-one. 3rd and 9, and look at this.
Holiday on the run, slipped it off into David Gibbons' hand. So he made something out of nothing on the move that time with Pat Ricketts, the defender.
Bought a little time moving up into the pocket that time. Packet pass. Gibbons comes on a short crossing route. That's how you defeat it. You just don't have to go upfield against bump and run. You run that little West Coast offense. Cross your receivers. Rub them off the umpire in the middle. Do whatever you can to force Nebraska out of getting comfortable and playing man-to-man to the outside. 9 men in the box. Can't run it.
And it's 2nd down. And at the conclusion of the game, we'll select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team, and Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund.
I think another factor in this game, Tracy Winstrom has been such a big part of the Nebraska offense at tight end, but Notre Dame doesn't even look at their tight end. Barely even goes out for passes. John Owens, a converted defensive player. Gary Godsey, the quarterback from a year ago. Neither one of them are even a factor in the game.
2nd down and 10. Holiday. Incomplete. And that time he tried to get it.
He did, but look at how Nebraska.
John Owens.
Right, look at how Nebraska has no respect for the tight end. Scott Shanley, the inside backer, is covering the tight end all over the field.
Let's check in with Jaggeroo.
Well, Brent, when we chatted with Craig Bohl yesterday, everybody knows that he lives in the shadow of Charlie McBride. But Bohl has been very, very critical of himself. He says one thing that he wants to improve upon is being able to reach inside each player like McBride did and identify what is the best quality and then pull it out of his defense.
Another on-the-money pass from young Holiday to Javon Hunter for the first down of Notre Dame. So that is twice in a row that Carlisle Holiday from San Antonio's Roosevelt High has converted third downs here in the rain in Lincoln with the Irish trailing.
Brian, you talked about his size. When I watched him practice, watch how he just flicks the ball. He's got an unbelievable arm, barely any windup at all, and just lets it go. He can throw the ball easily 25, 30 yards without even following through and not even throwing with his legs at all. Just all arm, boom, just lets it go.
Quarterback draw. There's his running ability. He crosses midfield for 6 yards on that run, and Jamie Burroughs there.
That time Nebraska was looking for it. Watch inside. The two tackles just stand up inside looking for the quarterback draw. They're ready for it. They're ready for it. They just can't get off the blocks. Notre Dame does a good job of holding inside. It's all right if you hold your guy inside your shoulders. It's when you reach outside with your arm that the umpire or the referee will call it.
Give him 8 yards officially, and it's 2nd down and 2. Jones stuffed behind the right side of the offensive line. Nothing doing that time, and here's another 3rd down. That time it was Shanley. Jones out, Fisher in. There's that wishbone look.
Tilted to the left. Looks like they're going to run it.
And they may have drawn him offside for the 1st down.
Offside
yes,
on the defense, 5 yards. Will be a 1st down.
So aerial coverage of the game this evening from Lincoln, Nebraska, being provided by Tostitos. Look at these Nebraska fans. You don't see a lot of empty seats, folks, even with the rain coming down. They just put on their red parkas and go back to work, rooting for their team. And right now, Carlisle Holiday is putting together a pretty impressive drive. The Irish can score. This is not over, but he's got to strike to the end zone. Holiday down the middle. Intercepted at the 5-yard line. Through to double coverage that time. And Willie Amos, the free safety from Sweetwater, Texas, picks it off.
Carlisle Holiday made the critical mistake that you would not expect a high school quarterback to make, let alone a quarterback playing for Notre Dame. Find out where the free safety is and don't throw the post that was back there.
Timeout.
This is what Holiday saw. A post route. Givens against Gross. This is what Holiday didn't see. The free safety, Willie Amos standing in the middle of the field waiting for an easy interception.
Now the Nebraska offense coming out from their own 5-yard line. The 4th Irish turnover of the night. Here's Crouch. Picks his way for 2 or 3 yards that time. Harrison makes the stop for Notre Dame.
See, that looks so much like an option play, but it's a quarterback keeper all the way. The fullback is being faked to, and he goes in there and either gets tackled or makes a block, and then the tailback is following inside, and Eric Crouch is keeping that ball the whole way.
Eric Crouch tonight has run 10 times for only 15 yards. So Notre Dame has taken the Crouch run away, but Diedrich has run 20 times for 100 yards. So it's Diedrich again. Well, Sunday night, ESPN will kick off its 15th NFL season at 8:30 Eastern. The Miami Dolphins, overpowering defense, tries to shut down Eddie George and the Tennessee Titans at Adelphia Coliseum, a place that only the Baltimore Ravens have ever beaten the Titans. Coverage begins with NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite at 7:30 Eastern with Chris Berman.
We talked to Frank Solich yesterday about where Nebraska is. He says, we're okay with our options, we're okay with our passing game, but our power game hasn't come along. Well, it's arrived.
3rd down and 3. And Notre Dame tried to hold on to the fullback that time, and Judd Davis just wouldn't be denied, Jackaroo.
Well, Brent, you heard Coach Osborne talk about the fact that they found Darren Diedrich in Canada. He came to Canada from Jamaica, where he was born at the age of 13 with his mom. He picked up football just watching it while he was playing baseball one day, and he said, this looks real easy. When we asked him what he would have done if he stayed in Jamaica, he said, I probably would have become a cricket player.
Not a bobsledder, eh?
Right. That's scary. I start thinking the same thing you're thinking.
We got a timeout. So the Nebraska defense tonight has forced 4 turnovers. Remember, that was what they were stressing here. We want more turnovers, the coaches said. Well, tonight they've held the Irish to 91 yards of total offense, 39 yards on the ground, and they have forced 4 turnovers. Let's go back to Jack.
Well, Brent, we had a question. You know, we call it You Don't Know Jack. Well, Jeff in California wants to know. He said, I understand that maybe one of the original nicknames of the Cornhuskers was the Bug Eaters. Well, Jeff, here's the answer. I can verify that along with the Rattlesnake Boys and the Antelopes, were a couple of the early nicknames before the Cornhuskers. The reason they were called the Bug Eaters back in the 1890s was the fact that they gobbled up the competition, much the way the bull bat ate up all of the bugs on the plains. I've got a bug here.
No, Jack. No.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Jeez.
No thanks. Oh, man. And they're in on the punter. Notre Dame stuffs them inside the 5-yard line. And now the Irish with a great shot here. Shane Walton, I believe, was in there on the punt. Shane Walton, number 42, is the young man who made the play.
I don't know if Nebraska was watching Jackaroo eat a bug, but they sure weren't watching how to block this one right here. Walton comes in and stuffs him.
An ABC Sports presentation of college football returns after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Start the final quarter, and Notre Dame with a golden opportunity to score its first touchdown, and they'll open up with Matt Lavecchio back at quarterback. They will show the wishbone. So Holiday out. They continue to rotate quarterbacks.
Okay,
Jones is stuffed in the middle that time. Check it. Terrence Howard had checked in at that halfback spot. Joining us now from Philadelphia, All-American from Nebraska, Grant Wistrom, the great defensive lineman here from the Cornhuskers, now plays with the Rams. And Grant, you got to be pulling for Big Red down here to have a goal line stand. I know you were pretty good in this situation.
Oh, absolutely. I'm pretty envious of these guys getting to play Notre Dame. That's one of the big programs that I never got to play.
Here we are now from the wishbone, bringing it down the line. Lavecchio stopped shy. And that was Jamie Burrow. Grant, tell me about the dedication of the Nebraska defense, the black shirts, what it means to be a defensive player here at Nebraska.
You know, it's a tradition that I just really found out about when I finally got there, but it means so much to finally earn your black shirt. From the day you walk in those doors and you want to play defense there, that's what it's all about. It's finally getting to be part of that starting unit.
All right, the black shirts are trying to dig in right now. Matt Lavecchio with a third down for Notre Dame, and he won't yield. The black shirts were right there. There was a long stretch for the end zone. Granted, it is not automatic that you get the black shirt, right? Even if you play on the defensive unit, the coaches have to give it to you. You've got to earn it, right?
Absolutely. You know, there have been starters there that the coaches thought they really didn't display the attitude that it took to be, you know, the mentality that it meant to be a black shirt. And there's been guys that have earned them that have had them taken away. So, I mean, like I said, once you're on a certain unit, it's not a for sure thing. You got to prove it every week.
All right, here they are trying to prove it. Fourth down against Notre Dame. Matt Lavecchio. Touchdown. On fourth down, Tony Fisher steps in for the first Notre Dame touchdown of the season. And that certainly will give the Irish a lift here. And Grant, while I've got you on the phone, I know a lot of folks here in the Midwest wondering about the Rams. I know in a lot of quarters they're being picked to win the NFC. What's your feeling about this year's team?
You know, going into a season, this is the best I felt about being in St. Louis. I mean, everybody knows how tremendous our offense is, but Coach Martz has done a great job, and the people upstairs in the offices have done a great job of assembling a group of players and coaches that we believe can, you know, compete and be one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Well, Grant, thanks for being with us. I know you got a game tomorrow against Philadelphia, so good luck.
Thanks a lot, Brent.
All right, Grant Wistrom, former All-American here. The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame need a 4th down to score on the black shirts. They still trail it. Timeout. And this is what Grant Wistrom's younger brother has done here tonight. He's an offensive player, an All-American candidate at that tight end position. 4 catches, 71 yards, averaging 17.8 yards a catch. He can move for a tight end, can't he, Gary?
And his career, he's averaging over 20 yards per catch. So you can see he's the beneficiary of a play-action system that gets him out deep when he catches the ball. I think that's something Notre Dame's going to have to work on in their offense. They're not utilizing the tight end.
Great kick out of the end zone. Come out of the 20-yard line. And, John, what's going on with USC and Kansas State?
Well, Brent, on the Coors Light update, as you know, Kansas State doesn't usually play this tough a game this early in the season. Josh Scobie, 12 yards towards the end zone, but he fumbles it. Nick Leckie recovers 10-0 at that point. They hold on for a 10-6 victory. Meanwhile, Georgia trying to get revenge from last year's loss to South Carolina, leading at 9-7 with about 3 minutes to go.
You know, I think the Sporting News said that Bill Snyder was the best coach in the Big 12, and I wouldn't want to disagree with that. You give Snyder time like he's had all summer to get ready for a team, and he'll have them ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. And tonight they travel out to the West Coast and come away with a W. K-State will be tough to reckon with. Here's Crouch. Oh, slammed in the hole that time by Donald Dykes. So here at Memorial Stadium, Saturday Night Lights. 13 minutes to go. The Fighting Irish have just scored their first touchdown of the season, but they still trail Nebraska, playing its 3rd game of the season, 27-10. And next week for Notre Dame doesn't get a whole lot easier. They got to go down there and play the Produskis, the Boilermakers. And you know what kind of a system Joe Tiller has put together down there. Here is Dodd. He has been the main eye-back tonight for the Big Red. Anthony Weaver makes the stop. Check in again with Jack Arute on the Wistroms.
Well, Brent, you know that man, Tracy Wistrom, admits that he's lived in the shadow of Big Brother Grant for a long time. He said it changed all this summer when someone walked up to Grant and asked him his name. When Grant said, Grant Wistrom, the guy said, hey, you're Tracy Wistrom's brother.
That's the way it goes.
Must have been in Nebraska, right? That's where that happened.
3rd down and 2.
Let's see if Notre Dame can get this stop.
They couldn't. 1st down.
That is a situation where Nebraska loves to run the option. In this game, they've been featuring just power. Eric Crouch has yet to really break one. Not many times I watch Nebraska play where Crouch doesn't get a big play in the game. He's thrown a couple passes, but he has not got into the secondary and got any of those broken field runs that he usually does. He's so great at it.
Now on 1st down. Crouch wants Thomas, wants the long ball. He's well covered, and the penalty flag is thrown on that play. Did you think it was catchable, Gary?
Yes, I did, because I think Clifford Jefferson was all over Thomas down the field and it slowed him down. He was actually, you could call it holding or interference, either one. It's still a penalty. It ended up not being catchable, but watch how Jefferson just rides Thomas all the way up the field. Pass in there, and then here's the hands. 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds, and that's what slowed down Thomas enough not to be able to get there. And that's just kind of a panic move by Jefferson. He was in good position. He didn't need to do that. He could have just shielded him with his backside and ran in front of him and made the play. Again, not playing in a lot of games. First game of the year, you panic.
Well, Crouch and Nebraska scoreless here in the second half. They've been outscored by Notre Dame 7-0. First down. And Crouch slips to the 45-yard line. And remind you again that Monday Night Football returns to ABC. The NFC champion New York Giants travel to Denver to face the Broncos in their brand new stadium. Brian Greasy ready to go Monday night at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ABC.
The package.
Why don't you come with me tomorrow and come down and watch the Kansas City Chiefs and the Oakland Raiders. Go see our old friend Vermeil.
I'll watch that. Is that on TV? I'll catch that on digital. Okay. The satellite. I gotta watch my Lions.
Second down. Diedrich battling toward that first down marker. He's been a hard runner here tonight.
I have never, and I've seen Nebraska in person maybe doing games maybe 8 to 10 times, and I've watched them, of course, on TV maybe 25, 50 times. I've never seen them run so few options in a football game. 3 or 4 options total in this game. None in the second half.
Third down and 1. Diedrich has gained 115 yards here tonight. Looking for more. Hit in the backfield. Kept on going, but couldn't get the first down. Ron Israel came across and popped him first.
That play just developed so slow with the triple stack eye that time. Diedrich couldn't get to the line of scrimmage, and Israel, number 5, just gashes it coming right in here. Watch how slow this play gets started. Israel creases it from the backside, and he beats him to the line of scrimmage.
After the first quarter, Notre Dame's defense has settled down in this game, starting to grow up here in their season opener. Again, they've outscored Nebraska here in the second half. Kyle Larson into punt again. Fair catch at the 17 by Julius Jones, where Notre Dame has 9 minutes and 13 seconds. They trail Nebraska by 17. Timeout. Matt LeVecchio stays in at quarterback for the Irish, who have outscored Nebraska here in the second half, but still must rally for 17 in the final 9 minutes. Out of the backfield to Jones. Slips out of bounds, and a penalty flag comes flying. The field judge coming up on the play, threw it as the Irish receiver was going out of bounds, and it'll be yardage tacked on against Nebraska. And if time permits, stay tuned for the Thrifty Car Rental post-game report, scores and highlights from across the country.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it was hitting out of bounds. It had to be a face mask because he was right on the sideline, a 5-yarder.
Solich cannot be pleased with the performance of Nebraska here in the second half.
Right at the end of this play, let's see if they get the hand on the face mask. Yeah, there it is, right there. Incidental 5-yard penalty.
LeVecchio's short drop, and he hits Gibbons, who's close to another first down with Craver pushing him out of bounds.
You know, I just get the feeling that Frank doesn't believe that Notre Dame can score enough points to beat him, and he's just playing a conservative game plan. He feels he's got this game won, and he doesn't want to take chances on offense and blow it. Of course, he didn't figure he'd have a punt blocked either.
You can see here in the second half, Nebraska's been held to 47 yards after gaining 200 in the first half. So the Irish are definitely growing up here in the second half. LeVecchio's got the middle. There's Arnaz battle. slipping out as a receiver for that catch, and he's caught 2 balls tonight for 7 yards. McPherson, the defender.
Well, I talked about what would determine this game. Let's go back and take a look at it. 3 battles were going on. Nebraska won the turnover battle. They got 4 of them. Special teams will call it about even. There's been problems, but look at the line of scrimmage. Nebraska gets a huge check right there, and that's why they're 17 points up.
They've run for 159 yards, but most of it the first half. Lob, and there's interference called against Gross. Push the Irish receiver Gibbons right out of bounds on that far side. There's an automatic first down, and look what we've got here, ladies and gentlemen. But as Gary pointed out, time may be running out on the Irish.
Man-to-man coverage. Right now, Gross is saying, I don't want to give up a cheap touchdown. I don't care if I get a penalty here or whatever. And he's kind of lost his focus on what he was doing so well early in the game, running with the receivers and trusting his athletic ability out there. When you get a big lead, sometimes, you know, it's like all sports. You try to start looking at the clock and say, let's get this thing over with.
To the middle, incomplete. Wanted Hunter, and double coverage closing fast on that one.
Right, he missed David Gibbons that time. The free safety was coming over the top. Gibbons is going to come across right in the middle of the play, and he tries to go deep. Watch Gibbons if he comes open late, right across the middle right here. Yes, actually, right there. There's Gibbons. Look at that open space. And he would have stuck with him 1 second longer because he really didn't have the deep throw on that one.
Gibbons comes wide to the right. Battle is the slot man. Short drop. Goes one-on-one against Gross, and up over the top. Incomplete was Javon Hunter. Let's check in on South Carolina, Georgia. Here's John Saunders. John.
Brent, try and figure this one out. 9-7, 3rd and 10. And Lou Holt says my place kicker's best is 29 yards. I'm going for it. Phil Petty to Brian Scott. Great reception right there. Strange play call, but it works out well. 14-9. They follow that up with an interception, so South Carolina looks like they're going to hold on to beat Georgia for a 2nd straight year.
John, the man's lethal on the sideline during the game. I always thought he was one of the best. I watched it when he coached in the college game. Penalty flag comes flying on that pass, which was completed at the 35-yard line to Hunter. There is a penalty flag, however. So bring it on back. Let's check in with Jack.
Well, Brent, you're looking at what every college football team is going after this year, the Sears Collegiate Trophy, symbolic of the national championship. Now, Nebraska already has 3 of those, but watch how upset the Sears people get when I start to walk away with the ball.
Hang on, Jack.
Oh, you almost fell.
We're in good hands, man. Good hands.
I'll tell you, Jack eating that bug just shows you people will do anything to get on TV, won't they?
That's right. 7:40 to go.
Like those reality shows.
Well, now it's time for our Pacific Life game summary.
5 yards.
Well, this is Walton coming in and setting up the Notre Dame touchdown as he blocked that punt. And speaking of swallowing, way to take your protein, Jack.
He didn't look like he liked that much.
No.
And he wasn't even in the race for $1 million eating that thing, was he?
7:20 to go. 3rd and 25. In trouble. That should be grounded.
Well, he was outside the pocket, and he threw it over the line of scrimmage.
Jamie Burrow coming hard.
You know, I really believe, Brent, that college football has to look at this advantage that teams can get by scheduling games earlier than other teams. I've been proposing for a long time that the university should have the ability to hold a scrimmage, a non-scoring scrimmage, maybe run 50 plays against teams, let kids in to watch it, do something that so you can be on an even par with the other teams.
Elbow gets one off. Drives Gross inside the 10. He falls on it. It was a loose football again, and Notre Dame can take heart with what's happened here in the second half against Nebraska. But is there enough time? Doesn't seem that way. Timeout. Nebraska came in favored tonight by 13 to 14 points. They lead it now by 17. 7 minutes to go. 27 to 10. And the Cornhusker offense dashes back out with Eric Crouch. They've been bottled up. They're scoreless here in the second half. So the Irish trying to come closer, and that would delight a lot of their fans. 1st and 10. There's Diedrich, big hole, and coming up hard was Israel. Hard hitting, strong safety.
I think Notre Dame last year, 14-9, they did it.
Yeah, Lou Holtz. So he's beaten Georgia twice in a row. Spoils Mark Rick's SEC opener between the hedges in Athens. 2nd down and 6. Diedrich's coming again.
Nothing fancy by Nebraska. They'll be happy to run the clock, get a 1st down if they can, punt the ball, try not to get it blocked.
Diedrich now has carried 27 times for 121 yards. Crouch has been bottled up as a runner tonight. 12 carries for 27 yards. As a passer, he's 6 of 9 for 88 yards. And 4 of his 6 have gone to tight end Tracy Wistrom for 71 yards.
I think Nebraska's keeping something back for the Rice game next week.
5:45, the Irish have a timeout call because the clock was running down. Well, that's why that timeout is used up. And we'll take one. Back for the final 5:44, and 3rd down and 3 for Nebraska. They'd love to keep possession, miss it here, and of course they'll punt it away. The Irish want the ball back. They want another scoring opportunity here. Here's your 3rd down. Crouch is going to run for it. Not going to make it. Notre Dame stops Nebraska with Donald Dykes making the save. And the Irish will get the ball back with what appears to be outstanding field position. Jones trots on to return this punt for Notre Dame.
A keeper play, a finesse play. Something out of the offense that time. Instead of running the option or the power, they tried to do a keeper naked run to the outside, and Notre Dame was right there.
Notre Dame has blocked 1 punt tonight, set up their only touchdown from behind Larson. He's standing on the 1-yard line. He'll hit this one right around the 5.
Oh, man.
Booms one to Jones. The gunner's there. Spinning move, Jones. Beautiful move. And he tries to break free at midfield to the 44, and there is a penalty flag down. I don't know if they gave him enough room to field it back there or if it was blocking in the back. One or the other back there. But what a great move by Jones spinning out of there. And the illegal block, and back they come.
Well, the gunner was coming down. This is where it's going to happen right here. Let's see if it was. To the outside. Does he put his hands on him? You know, he was awful close to that 2-yard whatever.
I thought he was.
Halo.
I thought he'd violated it.
You know, he might have been pushed into the halo. You know, we couldn't tell from that look right there. But it was definitely hands on the back, and great field position, goes back all the way to the 25. Let's see if he gets within 2 yards. I think, I don't know. I think the hands were close to in his back, and boy, that's just something you can't do.
And that's 9 penalties against Notre Dame for 63 yards, 8 against Nebraska for 54 yards. Lavecchio back at it, quarterback. Got one-on-one coverage, incomplete. Out of bounds is Hunter. Well, Gary mentioned, are they saving anything for Rice? Because the Owls are next, Gary.
That's right. And if you look down that schedule, and Brent, you like to call them monsters. You see any monsters for a while?
Nope, not till about October 27th.
See, I figure they go 8-0 all the way till there, and then they come back with Oklahoma at home, and then they get these two at the end right there. And I think that Colorado game at the end could be one, too.
A monster. Second down and 10. Lavecchio throws underneath to Gibbons, short of the first down. McPherson makes the stop. And ABC Sports presentation of college football has been brought to you tonight by Jeep Liberty. The next great Jeep idea. Jeep, there's only one. Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Dr. Pepper makes the world taste better. Unvandia. Ask your doctor if Unvandia is right for you. And a Holiday Inn who gives you more, and more is better. Sideline.
Can't make a living.
Incomplete.
Can't make a living throwing fades with only a yard of space to the outside. The receiver has to give you more room. Gross won that battle against Javen Hunter that time. Look at, not enough room. The receiver has to be able to have at least to here so the quarterback can drop it in outside. Look how close the receiver is to the sideline. There's no room to throw the ball. Gross wins this battle. Javen Hunter goes up. Great athlete to go get it, but Gross is right there.
And Sean Milligan, the right guard, shaken up. He'll have to come out.
You know, Notre Dame's receivers have probably been so frustrated with the youth at quarterback. They just don't look like they are used to getting open. They run fades and they run stops. Where are the crossing routes? Where are the slants?
Fourth down, and Hillbo back to punt again. Here's Gross driving back inside the 20. Penalty flag is thrown. Well, I wonder how the substitute officials will make out, talking about the NFL, and you see the fellows down there in the striped shirts. The largest crowd in Nebraska history
Brent,
watches Notre Dame return to Lincoln for the first time since 1948. And Nebraska jumps all over Notre Dame in the first quarter, scoring 17 points. Since then, Notre Dame has made a stand, but it's been too late. And now they've got 3:52 to go, with Nebraska leading them 27-10, Gary.
And finally, some people are starting to leave. I think they're convinced. Not that many, maybe 3-4%. I hope our television audience is staying as faithfully for this game.
Eric Crouch, first down. Puts it back into Diedrich's hands, and he picks up 3-4 more yards. Jackaroo.
Brent, a big honor for every university is to have academic All-Americans named. And when you look at the list of academic All-Americans on the COSADA's All-American list, how about the fact that Notre Dame is ranked number 2 and Nebraska is ranked number 1? Notre Dame second with 134-37 coming from football, 181 from the University of Nebraska with 75 academic All-Americans from football.
Pretty good record. Crouch coming down the line. Now he pitches. Diedrich somehow broke the first hit, but he's sealed up at the 20-yard line. Ron Israel, the heavy-hitting safety for Notre Dame. And Diedrich has been the workhorse tonight, ladies and gentlemen. 29 carries, averaging 4.3 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. We've got a timeout called here with 3 minutes left, and Notre Dame, I believe, has used a timeout in this situation. And that would leave the Irish with a couple, Nebraska with 1. Bob Davies' team with 125 total yards, and they'll want to do better next Saturday. We'll have them again on ABC. Gary, you and I will be going to your alma mater, Purdue, the Fighting Irish, in their second game of the season against Joe Tiller's Purdue Boilermakers. And then at the same time, Washington, Miami. And what a confrontation that now appears to be. Washington with a huge comeback win over the Wolverines out in Seattle today.
Look at the contrast of college football. Notre Dame has to go from playing Nebraska with their I formation power option game to the spread attack of Purdue next week with 5 and 4 receivers out there the whole game.
3rd down. Penalty prior to the snap. We've seen just about enough of that color tonight, haven't we?
I think Nebraska lost their focus right after halftime. They've just been going through the motions. They've been ready for this game to end for the last 15 minutes.
False start on the offense. 5 yards. Remains 3rd down.
Aerial coverage has been provided tonight by Tostitos.
So you see a lot of red and not a lot of cars yet. See, there's still a lot of people here.
Well, I've got a moment. I want to send along best wishes to one of our cameramen, Jack Leeson, been an ABC cameraman for a long time. And Jack, we wish you a speedy recovery from your surgery. And Jack, we hope you get back here with us soon. And also the executive producer of ABC Sports is Howard Katz. The executive producer of ABC's College Football, John Filippelli. The coordinating producer, Bob Goodrich, is also producing tonight's game, and our director is Larry Cam. 3rd down and 11 here at the 3-minute mark. And Crouch spun down at the 20-yard line. The man who's pushed all the right buttons tonight, the TD, Monty Poling. The associate producer is Mitch Green. Brian Fahey has been the associate director. Director of production, Bob Toms. The computer statistician, Big D, Anthony Holman. Stats, George Hill, and our spotter up here in the booth, Brian Movelson. He's in mourning. His Wolverines lost today. And, you know, a big congratulations to our Jack Arute, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. He's a grandpa for the 2nd time. Grandson was born the other night. Congratulations, Jack. Hey, Gramps.
Yeah, I got another grandson. I got 2 now. That one came in at 7 pounds, 4 ounces yesterday. But I haven't understood why they named them the names that they do. You'd think Jack would be okay, Brent. They've named my grandson Nathaniel Levi.
Nathaniel Levi.
Last name Jones.
So it's 4th down now, and the Irish will get one more shot to crack that end zone, trailing this baby by 17. Up the middle they come, but they don't get there. Jones will fair catch it at the 35-yard line. 65 yards to go here, and 2:51 left to do it. Gary, what's your feeling about the Notre Dame quarterback controversy? You know they got one now.
Yeah, it's not going to go away. In fact, I talked to Matt LaVecchio when I was there for practice, and I reminded him how he has to just rise above it. Remember how Tom Brady handled it at Michigan that time when he had Drew Henson behind him? He just kept his eyes on the horizon and kept playing. But Holiday will get plays throughout this year. I think Kevin Rogers and Bob Davie are committed to that. And Matt LaVecchio is just going to have to get used to it because I think both will play the rest of the year.
Fisher trots out as the running back. And LaVecchio will put it up for the shotgun with 4 wideouts for the Irish. Looking to get a late score. Got his man. Gibbons overthrew him. He had Gibbons on a fine move to the outside and overthrew him.
I think Matt LaVecchio probably saw this thing coming even in spring ball. Even though he led Notre Dame to a BCS bowl, as you pointed out, in spring ball he shared the snaps, not only between Carlisle Holiday, but the 3rd quarterback, Jared Clark, who also shared snaps all spring. And I think Matt knew he was in for a fight. And I don't mind playing 2 quarterbacks, but I don't like playing a tryout every game to see who plays.
Here's 2nd down, LaVecchio. Gibbons underneath is driven out of bounds inside the 35-yard line, loses yardage on the play. Pat Ricketts makes a fine stop. down for Lavecchio. The Irish on third down are only 3 of 14 here tonight. Looking for number 4. No.
Bad pass there.
Oh, Tibble, the intended receiver. Oh, let me check that. Jenkins, Omar Jenkins, the intended receiver.
Quick slant to the outside. Nebraska was giving Matt that throw, and he missed him by a wide margin.
.205 to go, and Hilbo back on the field. This will be his 7th punt of the night. Gross has to wave everybody away, and it'll go out of bounds at about the 21 or 22 yard line. So Nebraska will try to trot out here and stop the clock. And our Chevrolet players of this game for the Fighting Irish, Courtney Watson had 17 tackles here tonight, number 33. And of course, Darren Diedrich carried 29 times for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. So congratulations to Courtney Watson. In a recognition of these fine efforts, Chevrolet makes a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. Diedrich bursts to the 26-yard line, and Anthony Weaver makes the stop for the Irish.
If you would have told me that Nebraska, with under 2 minutes to go in the game, would have rushed for under 180 yards, I would say Notre Dame would win this game. This is a team that has won the rushing title a year ago. And in this game have been just patient enough to say, all right, we'll just run it inside. We got a lead. We're not even going to try to run our whole offense.
Second down and 6.
Okay.
Diedrich, he's been the man. 31 carries for 132 yards here tonight. Now third down, but inside of a minute. Notre Dame with 1 timeout left. They'd love to force just one last punt here and give the return team one final crack.
I'll tell you, the fullback, Judd Davis, number 4 right there, he's 2 inches taller, shorter than when he started the game. He's run 50 isolation plays right up the middle. Gets another ball.
Diedrich stretches it out. He's short. And the final seconds with 24 left on the clock. Nebraska has run 61 plays tonight, and Notre Dame 60. Here's 4th and 2 with 24 seconds. And Solich will talk about it as the Irish use up that timeout. And Solich wants to make exactly sure about the timing, how he can kill the clock, what he has to do here.
Notre Dame runs 60 plays for 126 yards.
Well, Notre Dame can take heart in the way they shut Nebraska down in the second half. That'll be what they will build on. And Nebraska can point to the defense, which forced 4 turnovers here tonight. Jumped up for a 17-point first quarter.
Now Nebraska's going to have to take a timeout. They only have 10 men out there. Actually, they only had 9 men out there.
Check in with Jackaroo.
Well, Brent, Darren Diedrich having another great game this week, and he is a gourmet cook. They say that his roommates say, though, don't try the curry chicken. It's real spicy.
Here is that punt, and Jones one last crack. nothing doing. Clock is stopped. 14 seconds remaining here. And Notre Dame comes to Lincoln for the first time since '48, but a different result this time. Frank Leahy and the Fighting Irish pounded the Cornhuskers in that game. Big Emo Sitko, one of the legendary fullbacks in Notre Dame lore, had a huge game for Coach Leahy. And then the series was called off until they met in a bowl game. And Coach Osborne telling you that Johnny Rogers was lined up as a running back in that game, and they beat Notre Dame down in Miami. Then last year in overtime, it was Nebraska, and here tonight, Nebraska will come away with their 3rd victory of the season. Lavecchio comes underneath, and Gibbons, instead of stepping outside, has a first down, so the clock will stop with 5 seconds left. And Lavecchio and the Irish can get off one more snap, it looks like.
Well, I think that Notre Dame is just saying, hey, we just need the experience of running plays right here.
Last play, throwing underneath, and that's going to do it. Nebraska beats Notre Dame by 17. Again, the final score, Nebraska 27, Notre Dame 10. ABC Sports is online at ESPN.com. Keyword ABC Sports. Don't forget the season premiere, Monday Night Football, the Giants and the Broncos. This is ABC Sports, continuing the tradition of excellence. So long, everybody.